Welcome everyone, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Congregation Beit Tikva, the House of Hope. We're happy to have you with us for our Shabbat evening service. And welcome also to Jolene and Dankoff, our musicians. Lela is recording this service. We're on page 128, and we begin together singing Yedid Nefesh, My Heart's Delight, in the middle of 128. Let's continue with Shalom Aleichem.
That's fine.
142. On 142, Shalom Aleichem, our traditional Shabbat evening selection. Peace be unto us, O ministering angels, messengers from Most High, bring us blessings, Holy One of Blessing, bring us blessings. Join with us for a reading before the blessing over the Shabbat candles. We're in the middle of page 121. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlikner shel Turn to a reading for Shabbat on 124, in the middle of page 124. Let's join together. May the door of the synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. Let's turn to the Psalms as we welcome Shabbat. Throughout the world, we always begin with Psalms 95 through 99, and then concluding with Psalm 29. We're on page 130, and we're singing a little bit of Psalm 95. Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai. Raise a shout for our rock and redeemer and deliverer. Let us come into God's presence with praise. Let us raise a shout for God in song. For Adonai is the great God, the great ruler of all divine beings. In God's hands are the depths of the earth. The peaks of the mountains are God's. God's is the sea, God made it, and the land which God's hands fashioned. Come, let us bow down and kneel, bend the knee before Adonai our Maker. For Adonai is our God, and we are the people God tends, the flock in God's care. Oh, if you would but heed God's charge this day. Let's read together on page 134. Sing praises to Adonai with the lyre and a melodious song. With trumpets and the blast of the horn, raise a shout before Adonai the ruler. Let the sea and all within it thunder, the world and its inhabitants. Let the rivers clap their hands, the mountains sing joyously together at the presence of Adonai. For God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly, and its peoples with equity. So let's turn a few pages and we come to one of our most favorite Shabbat evening melodies, Lela Dawkins, an old Shabbos table song, and we know it comes, probably the words at least come from the rabbis and Tzvats writing, composing and studying together in the late 1500s. We're on page 138. We're singing verses 1, 2, and 9. Let's turn to 144 as we begin the blessings before we come to the V'ahavta, the Shema Yisrael, and ultimately the 7 blessings of the Tefillah. We're continuing now with the Yitkadal V'Yitkadash, the Chatzi Kaddish, which means the half Kaddish. We're on page 144. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rava B'yamad Yivra V'urtei V'amlik Malchutei V'chayechon V'yomechon V'chayedecho Beit Yisrael Hagala B'Hagala U'yishma Karim B'Ru Amen. Together, the call to worship, we're on page 146. Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Let's read together the first blessing. We're on 148 in the middle of the page. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'mariv Ha'ravim. The second blessing, Ahavat Olam, we're reading together in the middle of page 150. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Let's sing together the Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto le'olam va'ed. Let's all be seated, be comfortable. We continue with the words from Deuteronomy. We're reading the V'ahavta together on 154. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha. V'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha. V'shinatam levanecha v'divarta bam v'shivtecha v'beitecha v'lechtecha v'derech v'shachbecha v'kumecha. V'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot be'enenecha. Uchtatam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. Leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem emet. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. Adonai Elohechem emet. So we're singing Mi Chamocha from the words of Exodus. Who is like you, O God, among all others? This is, as you know, the song of the sea when Moses and Miriam, the people, escaped from the Egyptians and the charioteers. On page 158. continue with the beautiful blessing, the Hashkivenu, which you'll find on page 160. Wendy is going to offer us a wonderful solo for this blessing. We're asking God to watch over us and protect us during the Sabbath evening and all of the Sabbath. Let's read together on 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haborei sukkot shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. So we continue with our wonderful music. We're on page 162, singing together the Vishamru. Also, the words come from the book of Exodus. Top of page 162. Turn the page, we come to the tefillah, the prayer, capital P, signifying the 7 blessings, the 7 essential blessings that we recite. All of them really are giving thanks and offering our gratitude to the Holy One, to the Almighty. So we begin together on 164. If you're able, please stand and join us. If not, be comfortable and sing with us. Adonai sifatai tifta ufi agiti halatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Page 166. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu
טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדות במאור, ומבגולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו אהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, ועזרת שרה.
Page 168.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי הכל אתה רב והושיע, מכלכל חיים וחסר, מחיי הכל ורחמים רבים. צומק נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצביע ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל.
Let's read together on 171 on the top of the page. Days pass and years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Let's all be seated, please. Together on 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. We turn the page, let's read a metaphorical translation of the Ritzeh. We're on 175, top of the page. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayers. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands, you are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, shotcha levadecha b'yirah na'avod. The blessing of Thanksgiving, which is known as the Modim, reading together on 177. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. So we come to the concluding blessing, Shalom Rav, asking God to bring great peace to us, to all peoples, especially to the household of Israel. We're on 178.
Shalom Rav al Israel on God, Tassim Olam. Shalom Rav al Israel on God, Tassim
Let's take a few moments for our own personal prayers.
May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you. Be acceptable to you. Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Lord, my rock and redeemer.
Let's take a few moments and think of our friends, our loved ones, our congregants, all those in need of strengthening and healing as we prepare to sing the Mishaberach, the prayer of the song of healing for so many. So first of all, we want to give thanks to God for our cantor Ephraim Herrera, who is recovering and doing very, very well after his procedure this week, and also his father, Eliodoro Herrera. And we think also during this time of Rufuah Shlema, we think of our congregants, Doreen Herdig and Jean O'Gorman, Lynn Kelly, Arlene Vinnick, Flo Vinnick, a good friend of ours, David Marder, Moshe Ben Mordechai, and also Kate Shane as well. Any other?
Alma Dankoff.
And Alma Dankoff.
And Jim Taylor.
And Jim Taylor. So let's think of all of them and lift up their spirits to a higher level. We're singing together on page 371. 371.
May the source of strength
So we are about to conclude the book of Leviticus this Shabbat, since we have a double parasha to read. We have two sidrot to read, namely Behar, which means God is speaking on the mountain, on Mount Sinai, and giving Moses various instructions, and then we continue with the Torah portion called Bechukotai, which starts with the word if, a very powerful word. But I just want to mention a moment about the significance of the beginning of chapter 25 in Leviticus from the portion called Behar. Instructions are given to Moses concerning the sabbatical year, when the land shall lie fallow. Whatever grows of itself during that year, uncultivated, is to be used for food for the 7th year. So this was really, in a sense, the first food bank described in ancient Middle Eastern culture. All the crops, whatever they may be, olives, grapes, etc., the wheat, the barley, they could be harvested especially by those who were poor and somewhat indigent. So this is called the laws of Shemitah, namely the laws of release. And that law continues from the 7th year, and if you count 7 times 7, and you then add one more year, you come to the 50th year. We all know the word in English is Jubilee, and in Hebrew it was called the Yovel, Y-O-V-E-L. And that 50th year was extremely important. It meant really that all the land literally was going back to God. Whatever we may think we own, whatever we think we possess, it ultimately all belongs to the Almighty. And again, during this period of Jubilee, which generally would be marked by the sounding of the shofar on Yom Kippur, people had to make do during this period of sabbatical. So if you think about it, there had to be a great deal of harvesting and planting in the 48th year to make it through the next 2 years. And there were all kinds of economic arrangements that were made in those days in order for people to sustain themselves and for creditors to be able to lend to your average citizen who needed sustenance during the sabbatical years. I want to just share a few thoughts with you also on about a story from the Haftorah that comes from this portion from the Haftorah, which is from a couple of chapters from Jeremiah. Remember Jeremiah? One of the most important spokesmen, messengers for God in the 6th century BCE. He doesn't have such an easy life. In fact, by the time he's about to die, which is around the time that the Babylonians come to Jerusalem and destroy the city of Jerusalem, Jeremiah has been sort of chased away, and he's heading towards Egypt, and the people in Jerusalem and roundabouts do not particularly care for this prophet. They are tired of his excoriating them and criticizing them for all the misdeeds that have happened in the past 100 years. But here's the story. It's all about real estate. It's about a piece of land in Jerusalem. As I said, it's around the year 586, 587 BCE. Jeremiah had predicted that Jerusalem is going to fall. That's part of the reason the people didn't want to hear anything else from him. And God advises Jeremiah at this point, before he leaves Jerusalem, to purchase a plot of land. The reason for that being that this land was in the city of Anatot, outside of Jerusalem. It belonged to one of his relatives, namely the son of his uncle. So his cousin, I guess, that would be his cousin, his first cousin, was compelled by various circumstances to sell the land. But according to biblical law, land that belonged to a Jewish family or a Jewish tribe should never be turned over, should never be sold to a non-Jewish entity or real estate establishment. And so it came upon Jeremiah's shoulders to buy up this piece of land in order to prevent it from passing it out of the financial financial control of his own family. Why is this deal so important? It was just a little piece of land. It wasn't, wasn't near the Holy Mount. It wasn't near the temple in Jerusalem or anything. It had a certain significance because in buying this land, what Jeremiah was saying to the people was, I believe in the future of our Jewish people. Even though the Babylonian army has been pressing on our doorstep literally for the last 5 or 10 years, I believe that there will be a future for the Jewish people. Even if we're driven into exile, we will come back, we will repossess the land. This land of Israel is ours. So what does he do? He takes a risk. He borrows some silver in order, in a sense, symbolically to save his people. He doesn't, prophets don't have to make a lot of money. They don't have a lot of cash or real estate investments or, IRAs, whatever, pension funds. He borrows silver, he buys the land, he keeps it within his family, and he believes that this will be part of the vision of a future restoration for the Jewish people. To me, it speaks about a leap of faith. That's what it's really all about. It's more than real estate. It's about the idea of believing that our thoughts and our ideas that emanate from our mind, from our heart, have to be translated into action. From creed to deed, as one of my professors used to say a long time ago. There's an interesting parallel, or an interesting example of this that happened after the Six-Day War in 1967. Remember in 67 when the Israeli troops came to the Western Wall, there's that iconic picture of Moshe Dayan looking at the wall and the soldiers looking up at General Dayan. One of the first cultural events that the Israeli government sponsored after the 67 war was a concert on Mount Scopus. Why on Mount Scopus? Because that was a mountain that had been recaptured from the Jordanian army. And remember that many Israelis, many citizens in the spring of 1948 were killed. Jewish soldiers were killed trying to defend Scopus until it finally fell into the hands of the Jordanians. But this particular person who was going to the concert had a bus ticket that he had bought in the spring of 1948 before Mount Scopus was lost to the Arab armies. And he had held on to that bus ticket for 19 years. And when the concert was unfolding that evening, he took out his bus ticket, got on the bus with his wife, handed the bus driver and said, here's my ticket to Mount Scopus. Saying again, the land is ours. We can never believe that we shall lose the land. It may ultimately belong to God, but that Israeli was saying the land belongs to us. God gave it to us. So let me just add one other thought about this. What does it mean then to believe in something? I mean, what does it mean to have a series or a system of beliefs in one's mind and translate that into action? I think it's a really important question these days, especially since many of us are sitting at home for months and months, reading and cogitating and echin and krechin and worrying and gosh knows what's happened to us over 14, 15 months. I mean, we can think all we want, but what are we going to do about our behavior? How are we going to, so to speak, come back into the synagogue? How are we going to draw our congregation back into this beautiful sanctuary? Last Shabbat we had 21 people, I think, here. It was the beginning, a great first step towards reconstituting ourselves and being together as human beings. We can't just pray on the internet, on Zoom. We've got to pray in person and hear each other's voices. What I'm trying to say is religion, if it's going to be alive, has to be acted out in the arena of our life. We have to do stuff. We have to make things holy. We have to remember Shabbat. We have to show kindness to others. We have to celebrate together, and we are going to celebrate together in 2 Sundays here in this building. We're going to have a concert and a get-together, a social couple of hours and wonderful music. thanks to one of our friends, David Geist. That's all part of being a religious community. Singing together, praying together, learning together, doing together, crying together sometimes, helping one another. It's part of the essence of life. I think Judaism has survived the last 3,000 years because our deeds are greater than our creed. Everyone has a creed, everyone has a belief system, but the way we stay alive is we do things. We act on our deeds. In Hebrew it's called masim tovim. The more masim tovim, the more good deeds, the better our lives become. And the better the community, the more so the community will thrive. Shabbat shalom. Thank you again to Wendy and Jolene for the wonderful music on this Shabbat. Thank you, Lela, for recording the service. So, in the coming week, you will receive your new edition of the Beit Tikva newsletter. It's at the printer and will be getting mailed out very soon. So mark your calendars for May 16th, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's our special gathering that Sunday afternoon and celebrating Shavuot that evening. Any other special things happening?
Next week.
Oh yes, next Shabbat, we will be in person, in the flesh, Basar Vadam, the real flesh. We will be right here in our sanctuary praying and singing together, so come and join us. And you'll get your weekly e-blast on Wednesdays to tell you all the other good things that are happening. If you wish to strengthen and support and give us more courage, more strength, please feel free to donate to Congregation Beit Tikva. All you have to do is call the office and we will be happy to help you. Okay, our closing prayers begin on page 586. Page 586. If you're able, please stand for the Aleinu. The words of the Aleinu are towards the bottom of 586. Aleinu l'shabeach l'non hakol, l'tekula liotze reshit, shelo atzanu rigoyeh haratzon, v'lo samanu k'mishachor adama, shelo sam elkeinu kohen, v'yigol aleinu k'chol amonam, v'anachnu korim u'mishtabim u'modim, Levy melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nemar be'Adonai lemelech kol haaretz, v'yom ha'u yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. Let's turn to the reading before the Kaddish. We'll read together at the top of page 594. Why? Excuse me. Why should I wish to see God better than this day? I see something of God in each hour of the 24, in each moment then. In the faces of men and women I see God, and in my own face in the glass I find letters from God dropped in the street, and everyone signed by God's name. And I leave them where they are, for I know that wheresoever I go, others will punctually come forever and ever. We remember our loved ones at this time. At the end of Shloshim, we remember the soul of John Dawkins, brother of Lela's. And during Shloshim, we now recall Bruce Applebaum, friend of mine. On this, their yahrzeit memorial with love and devotion, we now remember Christopher Stafford Goby, husband of Elsie Hartog Goby, and Seymour Marin, husband of Helene Singer Marin. So let's turn to the Kaddish, please. We're on 598. Let's all say the Kaddish. We also think of those, our fellow compatriots from Israel who lost during Shloshim, all those who lost their lives last week on Mount Meron. Together, Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, v'yamad yivarach chirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, v'agala b'zman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevorach, ve'olam omei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, Yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, Shemei Kucha Marichu, Lela Mikol Birchata V'Shirata, Tush B'chata V'nechmata, Damiran V'yalma V'imru, Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu V'yal Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom V'bramav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'yal Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom V'bramav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'yal Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ya'kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ya'kol Yisrael. Together, the words for the Kiddush, they're on page 123 in our Siddur. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei b'ri hagafen. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzav banu. B'Shabbat kadsho yava'u ratzon inhilanu. Zikaron lemase bereshit, Kihu yom tehila l'mikra'e kodesh, Zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, Kivanu v'chata, Yotanu kidashna, Mikol Shabbat Shalom to everyone. A sweet Sabbath to everybody.